Welcome, everybody, to week one of the Cross Commission Saturday Night Power Hour, live on YouTube, tape delayed on your favorite audio streaming service. I'm Ryan, joined by Jake, and checking in live from the Northeast Corridor. It is Safe Fakadu, who's going to give us his in-person review of Hopkins Georgetown. He's on that Washington to Trenton train right now in the cafe car. Jake and I comfortably in our homes.
Live television, baby.
Oh yeah, I was gonna say Northeast Corridor. we cover it all from the district to Trenton.
Capital of the country.
But yeah, no, it was an amazing game. I know we're just gonna get started right in because we only have an hour. But absolutely electric atmosphere. I think I saw the box score about 2,200 people in total, and it definitely could feel it. Like Georgetown's got that Loyola style Cooper Field in Georgetown's got that one side stadium, but definitely like you could just I would say it was probably like 70-80% Hopkins. Like it was starting now. All right, perfect. So we got a couple of extra minutes in there. But the crowd was just like great. Super competitive game. I mean, it felt like a 1,600-meter race, or one of those like longer distance track and field events, because like the two leaders at the pack of the pack at the front, and they're just like every time Hopkins tried to make a move, Georgetown was right there. If you read the recap, I believe it was like 8 times or Hopkins. I'm sorry, at least 4 times where Hopkins like got up one or something, like tied it up, and it just felt like no matter what Hopkins did, like Georgetown just wasn't going to be shaken off. But right around like the third quarter, Hopkins got a little bit of a spurt, but kind of similar to the Denver game. Got a cross check by Jacob Stobner that ended up 2 minutes full time. Georgetown was able to cut the lead to 2. And then it's all of a sudden, Hopkins was able to keep it up to 3 or 4, but it felt again like the Denver game where it's just like never really felt comfortable. And then all of a sudden, Graham Bundy scores 2 goals in the final game, and it's like, 23 seconds left. It's like, it's just happening again. Anyway, then, Jays ended up pulling it out, coming in with the victory. And, if you're a Hopkins fan, you definitely liked what you saw from Chase Erlin. I think he was a man of the match for a couple, for more than a few key moments. I'd also give a shout out to the pipe at Georgetown. I think it was at least 3 pipes, like hard ones, crossbar pipes that Georgetown hit, 2 of them in the third quarter. So definitely game could have been a little bit closer than the final score. Like I said, Bundy's 2 goals in the final minute kind of gave it a little bit more drama than the last few minutes. Really wasn't like the Denver game, really. It just felt like everything was collapsing. But yeah, for Jay fans, like we were definitely happy with the victory. For Georgetown fans, I think like you don't like to go start the season 0-2, but this was a pretty good effort, much better effort than what they gave against Loyola. First game of the season on the road. I can understand a lot of new pieces of offense, but this game, you could still see that stout Georgetown D. Yeah, even though Hopkins won the game, you see like struggling at some points, and that had a lot to do with Georgetown. 15-8 face off advantage, but Georgetown was able to like neutralize that because of tough D and Hopkins turnovers. I think 13 in total to I believe Georgetown's 15. But yeah, like just in general, early February game, can't ask for anything more. Close match, great. Weather for February, cloudy. It was sprinkled a little bit, but like for the most part, it was like pretty nice and mild throughout the day. So, Jake and I always say, 40, 50 degrees, don't really crack a smile, but that's 60-degree, that's when you really get to smile and maybe start to feel really good. So, that's my report from Cooper Field in Georgetown. And I think we're Delaware or New Carrollton, one of them. Oh no, yeah, we're in Wilmington. So almost home to Jersey. But yeah, great day. Great Jays fan. Great atmosphere. It was really fun. It's and I think we tweeted that I found a ball in the stand. So I knew it was going to be a good day as soon as we sat down. So shout out to the people in Georgetown for having a great atmosphere. And like I said, Hopkins definitely showed out. Like it was like 65-70% Hopkins fans. So yeah, shout out to Scott Hensley, longtime follower, good dude. So I actually saw him at the game. I did like a double take because I saw his some of it. I was like, that guy looks like someone I should know from Twitter. And then he was like at the end of the game, so he came by and I went to the game with my buddy. He moved from California back to the East. Particularly like this, he's a Terp alum, so I always like to keep him informed about the Terps during the Benson years. Yeah, he actually never been to a cross game, so like, it was at a really fun time, and I was trying to explain to him the Hopkins tradition of throwing out the bananas to like players of the game. So he really got into it. Yeah, all around great day. Good to be in the district. Had a beautiful walk, and yeah, shout out to good Saturday.
So again, that's final score: Hopkins 11, Georgetown 9. I was watching the Islanders lose at the same time at UBS Arena. At the same time, Safe was watching Hopkins win, and following along with Syracuse women's lax losing to Northwestern. And at the same time, where of all people, Joe Girardi balling out for Clemson against Syracuse basketball. So yeah.
Joe Girardi, like the Yankees
No, as in
manager?
former Syracuse basketball player who now plays for Clemson. Joe Girard, rather.
Yankee legends. Like
Joe Girard. Yes, not to be confused with yesterday's Syracuse game. Yeah, Joe Girard, not Girardi. But yeah, no. We did have the revelation that Mariano Rivera's son plays lacrosse, which I'm sure is going to fuel every darn argument about baseball versus lax. Of hey, even Mario Rivera's son plays lacrosse. He knows what's up. Can't wait for that. Jake, you were also watching this game, though, so your take.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, as you know, if we have time at the end, I think it would be interesting to, dive in. The most consternation I feel like I've seen from Lax Twitter towards this, time slots and scheduling. I mean, considering this has been like a issue for, I don't know, ever.
We've been beating that drum forever.
But it feels this time, I don't know why this time, it got more kind of attention, especially for, February 10th. But for whatever reason it did. I thought that was interesting. Maybe if, we have time left over, or that might be something to save for the pod on Wednesday. But anyhow, so yeah, it was obviously difficult because I had Michigan, Virginia on the television. And then I had primarily Maryland Loyola, which we get into. It had like a 15-minute delay because the scoreboard wasn't working.
And also this one was on Flow Sports, everybody's favorite streamer.
Yeah, love. Remembering we have a Flow Sports subscription in February.
With minutes before the game started, we realized, hey, we have a Flow Sports subscription.
It's like, oh yeah,
cool.
That's good. Yeah, it'll work. Only one issue. One issue. And for 5 seconds, it worked the whole time. So shout out to Flow Sports. Hopkins, they look good.
They make so much money off of us for 4 lacrosse games. Essentially $40 a game.
It's truly ridiculous. Shout out.
It's a UFC pay-per-view. That's what we do. There are UFC pay-per-views.
Exactly. Yes. Exactly. Yeah. UFC pay-per-view price for 4 lacrosse games. Yeah. We pay for it. This one, two Georgetown, Denver, and maybe a Delaware game somewhere in there. Georgetown doesn't even get Notre Dame at home this year, so there's no need for that. It's one Georgetown non-con game a year. The Hopkins offense was, we talked, me and Safe talked about it on Wednesday. This really, really difficult Hopkins offense it's going to be, a really difficult Hopkins offense to defend. I think this is the best Hopkins offense I've seen in When was the last? When was Ryan? When did Brian Brown graduated? What, 2015, 16?
Around there.
2015, right?
20 was 15 his last year?
Might have been 2015.
I think it's senior year, right? It was a big year. No. I think it's
I know
2016. You're right.
I know
2015 was his senior
15 was
year.
the Final Four year,
His last
and then
year was 2016 actually.
yeah,
Yeah,
and then
2015,
they did have
off
20.
top.
They did have 2018, which that one was pretty good. That was Tinney's best year, and Kyle Marr and Shaq Stanwyck. Though by the end of the year, Shaq's back was just completely broken. But 2015 with Brown and both Stanwicks, was that this might be the best Hopkins offense I've seen since that's like 10 years ago. They've just got so many pieces. They got 16 goals in 3 games now from 7 different midfielders, and that's not even so. We're talking an average in 3 games of 5 goals from the midfield, and they can run 2 midfield lines that are equally dangerous. And we're not even talking Angeles, Degnan, and Melendez. That's really hard to defend. And like Brendan Grimes hadn't done anything for 2 games that he played in the first 2 games. I feel like I hadn't called it. He scored 2 goals today. He was their best. I thought he was probably their best midfielder in this game. So they're just so hard to defend. They got so many guys who can just do everything you want. They shoot, pass, dodge, cause problems. They dominated faceoffs, and they've been really good on faceoffs for 3 games now. Callahan edged Stathakis by like a nose in the Denver game, and that's Stathakis is one of the toughest guys you'll face. Obviously dominated Towson, another dominant today. In a league where there are elite face-off guys, obviously Weirman, about everyone knows about. Well, albeit his lunch money taken today down in Charlottesville. That was kind of a sort of just a kind of like okay area for Hopkins last year. If that becomes a strength, they're going to be even more tougher to handle. So,
the one thing I would say though is they have the offensive firepower, but they're only averaging 12 goals a game. They got to get some more in because I think they were shown some signs, not as bad by any means as last week against Denver, but the concern is looking like closing games. So they got to get some more goals in their bank heading into these fourth quarters, I think.
These end of games, these fourth quarters are, they scored one goal in the fourth quarter against Denver, and then it's the fourth quarter against Denver was 1 goal in 7 possessions, and then the Georgetown game today is 1 in 9. So that's their 2 toughest games. They got 2 goals and 16 possessions in the fourth quarter. I would say that feels like unlikely to continue. Same way, look, at the end of the day, them having that success they had in the fourth quarter all last season was unlikely to continue. They were plus 12 fourth quarter goal differential a year ago, and it drove a lot of their success. One likely to continue. That was, I think it's a good thing for them that they're 2-1, and they won this game, and they should have won the Georgetown. They should have won the Denver game, even with being outscored 4-1 or whatever it was, 5-1. They could have played a crappy fourth quarter, and if they just don't give up that garbanzo last, sequence second in the last 3 seconds, they still should have won. So I think it's encouraging to they've kind of had these sort of bad fourth quarters, and they're still in a position they've been hit with that regression, and they're still in a kind of 2-in-1 position. But yeah, I think that's true, especially when you kind of look at, they play Loyola next weekend. I think they should win that game. They'll be at home. But what could be a more low-scoring game, considering Loyola's has so far got a really good defense. Fourth quarter third quarter, like everything so for them is like 21 goals against against Denver and Georgetown, and then against Towson, they had like 10. So they're putting up a bunch, and then whatever happened in the fourth quarter, I don't know. They're not scoring goals. So it's weird. But yeah, you definitely, have to play a full 60 minutes, especially when you get to, Virginia, Syracuse. They play North Carolina. They got 3 road games: Carolina, Virginia, Syracuse. But as we know, they probably would rather play North Carolina away from home.
And just to put a bow on this game with Georgetown. So they're 0-2 now. They look a lot better than they did last week, at least. But here's the issue: they got Penn and Notre Dame on the road next 2 weeks. They got it. Next week's a must-win against Penn because they're kind of staring at 0-4. And
is it? They were 0-3 last year.
There is Big East play, so that helps. But I think they need a non-con. They need a non-con.
There are no must-wins. There are no must-wins till conference play. There are no must-wins. They're done. Their non-con is done unless they beat Notre Dame. Like they're not getting in the tournament unless they beat Notre Dame. You can forget about that. Really it's, about must win. I don't know. There are no must wins till conference play, really, at the end of the day. It would certainly behoove them to win it. I would want to win, yeah. But that's the benefit of having in this having the conference in your back pocket is but no, I don't. If they beat Penn and lose to Notre Dame, they're not going. They're not. I mean, we don't need to talk about tournament in February, but they're not getting the tournament if they beat Penn and lose to Notre Dame. that's not happening. So
the most.
But no, I think their problem is what we talked about. And say, you were there, you could say Hopkins short stick TJ Haley, and the quarterback of your offense can't be short sticked. It's the same thing we've talked about them for 3. Haley's getting short sticked, and they've started Bundy at attack, and nothing happened for that offense until they moved Bundy back to the midfield, and then he started to get some better because it was Bundy was on. They were short sticking Haley, and they put Scott Smith on Bundy, and that's not a matchup Bundy's going to win. Finally, when they got Bundy back to the midfield and he could dodge some better matchups, he got some goals late in the game. He had 3 goals on 13 shots. He got his goals, not the efficiency you like, but they've got to figure this. It's similar to the problem they had last year. The thing is, last year they had Dordovic and Minikis and saw fourth, super senior guys they could figure it out. It's a lot tougher to figure it out when you've got. They still got some experienced players here, but they have issues in terms of how they're going to have to figure out putting that together. I think the positive is their freshman goalie Anderson Moore, after he got, welcomed to D1 by Loyola, saved 50% today against a good Hopkins offense. And their defense, again, had a great fourth quarter. So their defense looked more like Georgetown, what Georgetown, defense should look like in that fourth quarter. And their offense they played their best quarter. Their best quarter was the fourth. If their defense can settle in, I think it should be able to hopefully carry them a little bit.
All right. So moving on to probably the most entertaining game of the day, and who would have thunk this would be the case heading into it? Army UMass, 2 teams that traditionally play some low scoring, close lacrosse, but low scoring. Today brought some entertainment down in Atlanta. Army 13, UMass 12. This one was 11 goals in the fourth quarter between these two teams. That usually doesn't happen when the Black Knights and Minutemen face off, but as we love to say, lacrosse is a game of runs. Army got off to a quick lead in the first half. UMass clawed away. Then UMass went on a pretty big run in the third and fourth quarter to take the lead, and they were actually up all the way by 3 until Army went on a run of their own. For Army, a couple things, not exactly the start they were looking for in terms of being clean and everything, but they get the job done when all is said and done. And UMass, you guys were saying heading into it in your preview on Wednesday that UMass had a very big bit at pulling off an upset here, and they almost pulled it off. But you got to kind of think it also went around the wayside how they were in control of that game at that point before Army went on that run to take the lead when it was 10-7 UMass.
It's kind of like we said safe with the A10. It's nice, it's nice to be in the game. You got to win them at some point. Richmond last week.
Richmond.
Right there at the end. UMass here, 3-goal lead in the fourth quarter. Those are two. If you flip the results of those two games, the A10 has 2 top 10 wins to start the season, and instead they don't. So these are the things. These are the results that impact substantially for these leagues. I think definitely that would have been big for you.
Want to...
Mm-hmm.
Would have been big.
Yeah, Safe, you're going to chime in.
Yeah, no, you don't want the A and A10 to stand for almost, like it's just eventually got to break through, get those W's because they're going to just weigh so much when it comes to the end of the season. Whether or not maybe it helps you get that at large bit, but like increasing the strength of the conference, overall RPI of the conference, like whoever actually makes it out, and just to maybe avoid the playing game. So his actual game, I mean, like, we say it all the time, like, it's great to be in it. It's great to even get them on your schedule. Because that is like half the battle for a lot of the majors. But once it's there, you got to knock it over. It's got to knock it down. Otherwise, it's just like good story, but it's meaningless when it comes to the end of the season. We kind of felt bad a little bit going into this game. I know, Jake, because we said that early season UMass can certainly cause some nightmares for teams, but it's almost there. But Army woke up in the nick of time. There was a victory, and at the end of the season for UMass, was definitely something they're going to look back and just see a missed opportunity.
Yeah, and they had to overcome. I think they were the better team in the game. In terms of between the lines, there was the slightly more efficient team. Army was +7 in possessions, 44 possessions for Army, 37 to UMass. Will Coletti was fantastic, 21 of 29. Army obviously, I think someone might mention in the chat or reply us on Twitter. Army always kind of does tend to start a bit slower, because with the academies. But one interesting thing to potentially watch for is the goalie play in this one, and maybe goalie just going forward. Matt Noe for UMass is one of the best in the country, and he was fantastic again for him. Matt Chess for Army in his first start, coming in for Fort Knox Dent, graduating from last year. that was a question mark. It was one of those you kind of want to, you sort of lean towards giving Army a benefit of the doubt because it's Army and it's goalies, and they always tend to have a great goalie. But he did struggle. Gave up 12 goals on 19 shots. I guess first start. So definitely, going to have to see, long term. But that is something to watch. Is you never know when it's inexperience. You do have to see how it plays out. And it's not a guy who had playing experience in the he did start like 2 games last year when Knox was hurt, but not substantial in the past, so this is definitely by far the most substantial playing experience they've had. So good thing with Army is usually they do bleed these guys in like over a prolonged period of time. Like Knox had been he only started 1 year because he was behind Wyatt Schupler for a long period of time. But that is something to watch for. One, I thought good thing you saw from Army. We talked about how much returning production they had. It was a big reason we were so high on them. A lot of people were high on them. Of their goals, 11 of 10 of the 12 were guys, familiar guys, from a year ago. Jacob Morin had 3. Reese Burek was the main producer, 2 goals and 2 assists. Baylor O'Connor 2. But Jackson Eicher, who did not start a year ago, was in the attack. So it's just another guy coming in who they're able to slide in there alongside these other now experienced. A year ago they were less experienced studs, and they keep rolling them out. And yeah, they got a lot of talent. UMass a lot of depth. They got a lot of different goal scorers. From the midfield guy, I think 8-9 goals in the midfield line. So yeah, definitely positives there. It was a competitive game, but not able to push, the ball over the hill and get the W. And Army, gets a good win early. And they've got 2 interesting road games, coming up. This was a neutral site, but they got Rutgers next week, who's
it's traditionally a game Army struggles
numbers
with as well.
Rutgers put up some good offensive numbers, but has struggled on the defense side of the ball. So that could be, considering Army's offense, that it could be one to watch. Potentially an offensive, shootout there. Not what you'd usually expect from Army and Rutgers, considering those 2 programs over the last 5, 6, 7 years. And then I'm sure one that everyone will be excited about at the end of the month in the Dome. Army and Q's coming back, so a big month, I think. They also will later on in the year they play UNC, but we'll have a much better idea of who they are as a team. So I think a really kind of the last couple of years they kind of were sort of off some of these team schedules, and UMass. I don't think didn't look maybe as strong as they do this year potentially. So the big game on their schedule, Army schedule, was Cornell, which came in April. This year it really feels like the barometer for them is this month, which is not necessarily fair because they'll get better, I think, over the course of the year. But
having that Q's game back in its traditional spot plays a big role. Though.
Yeah, it does feel like in a lot of ways we'll get sort of an idea for at least maybe the potential of their season by the end of February. Maybe not how good their team is, but just the potential of it. Like if they're 3-0, this is a real there is a magical sort of potential with this team. If it's 1-2, I think they definitely could get better, but the path is probably more narrowed. So yeah, I think it'll be interesting to see how they following that over the next couple weeks. And the Cuse game is it's on midweek too, isn't it? It's the 28th, which is a Wednesday.
Yeah, Syracuse has a very weird schedule this year with.
Syracuse plays like 4 midweek games this year.
They've already played 3 games on February 9th. They didn't even make it to February 10th playing 3 games.
What happened to the game I love? Yes, Army Syracuse February 28th. Interesting.
Loyola Maryland. Maryland gets the victory 11-4. A very stout defensive performance for the Terps. Loyola not able to recreate the offensive magic they had last week against Georgetown, to say the least. But yeah, Terps pretty much dominate this game and get the victory 11-4 to help set up that huge, colossal matchup against Syracuse in the Dome next week, heading into a 3-week stretch where they got Syracuse, Princeton, and Notre Dame, and Richmond and Loyola were formidable opponents too. So 2-0. Maryland right on track heading into the real meat and potatoes. After 2 good tests, they took care of Richmond in overtime, and here asserted themselves against the Greyhounds, especially after how high the Greyhounds were feeling last week after knocking off the Hoyas.
Yeah, so we talked about safe on the show. We said, what does Loyola do if it is like last year and Weirman wins all the faceoffs and they're just very limited in possessions and you don't shoot 50-something%? What do you do? Well, they didn't shoot 50%. They shot 13%. And the answer is you score 4 goals. Last year was, they did do things well last year. They were able to specifically target Maryland shorties and isolate them. This one, they had some success. That a moment after Alex Wicks, who's Maryland's number 1 short stick D midi, who actually got hurt early in the game, which is not good to see. Maryland had to play Jack Porras on the wings of the face-off after that. So hopefully he's okay. But but they had moments that Maryland put in George Stamos, a true freshman, things, but Loyola targeted him a little bit. They had Loyola scored 3 goals, I think, on 3 possessions in a row, or maybe it was it was something like that. In this game, it was they all came in a very small amount of time in the third quarter. The second quarter. And other than that, Loyola didn't score for the entire game. Yeah. Loyola scored 3 goals in about 4 minutes in the second quarter, and other than that, their only goal came with 1:53 left in the fourth quarter. They didn't score. They didn't score in the first quarter. They didn't score in the third quarter, and they didn't score until 1:53 left in the fourth quarter. They scored basically 3 goals in 4 minutes in the second quarter, and that was it. They were just shut down. Evan James last week had 5 goals and 4 assists, and then he ran into Ajax Zapatello, and he had a double base. So, last year we said about Maryland, they lost all those guys on offense. Wisnauskas, Donville, DeMeo, Molliver then Molliver got hurt. I'm sure I'm forgetting guys because it was like 6 of their top 7 scorers or like their top 6 scorers at one point. Khan, and it was like, this is bad. It's brutal, but they might have the highest floor in the country because they have McNaney and they have Weirman and they have that defense. Well, they lost McNaney in week 2 in this game against Loyola, and then towards the end of the year, Zapatello got hurt. That didn't help in the tournament. And they were never able to actually put that together. This year, I'm not saying they have the highest floor in the country because I don't think they do. I think you kind of saw with like some of the ACC, the ACC teams, obviously they're still imposing. We'll get to Virginia next. But this was like what they're able to put together when they got McNaney back and they got Weirman there and they have this defense. They're going to be really, really hard to beat. And they still got to figure out that offense. Like, that offense has not had that performance yet. Safe, we talked about it that Wednesday, the pod. They haven't had that performance yet where you're like, oh wow, like Maryland's offense is back. It's not there yet. They did hit like 6 or 7 pipes in this game. Again, for Loyola, it's not good when your opponent hits more pipes than you score goals. Not what you want. But that gives you a high floor when you have an All-American goalie back there and you face in the country and you've got that lockdown defense. Last year, that's and what they were hoping to replicate, and they were never able to do it because Mac went down and then Rupel came in goal, and he had a great run, but then kind of became a freshman goalie. And then later in the year, Zapatello went down, and that just kind of was the end of that. So yeah, like they're gonna have to get better offensively. There are flashes. Their first quarter was great. They played great offense. But this was, I think, kind of the roadmap, like what this will make them hard to beat. And I am very intrigued by that game, the Carrier Dome next, or whatever the heck we call it now, the
JMA Wireless Dome.
JMA, Radio Shack, Micron PC.
We do have that
MCI.
microchip company coming into Syracuse. That's
MCI Dome, whatever the heck it's called now. I am very, very, very intrigued to watch that.
I think especially the way Syracuse's offense has been humming. Now we got Maryland's defense with this performance this week. That's going to be such a fun cat and mouse game. Very fascinating because I think we're kind of jumping ahead of ourselves a little bit, but I think that could be a huge launch pad for Syracuse if they come out and win that game. And conversely for Maryland, if they could come out and win that game, that's going to give them a big shot of confidence heading into that. Well, Princeton's the big unknown, I think, out of the top 20, where nobody knows how their floor and ceiling are probably the widest out of anyone in the top 20, just because of the unknowns. And then the big game in South Bend and Notre Dame. So whoever comes out as the winner in that one's going to have a launch pad for really the rest of their non-conference season. It's going to be fascinating.
Yeah.
One thing Jake always say.
Go ahead, tell us. Spalina and Zap is that's the good shit, as they say. Go ahead, Zach.
I will be there no matter what for that one.
Oh.
I was just going to echo what you were saying. Like, we haven't seen that explosiveness that we had. Supernova Maryland. Maybe that's what we're going to call it in 2 years. But if you're telling. You gotta be encouraged with the 10 different guys scoring.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we'd love to see more guys have multiple goals, but as you noted, probably a few of them would have been multiple, but for the post. I didn't see the entire game. I was watching the Hopkins game, but just looking at the stat sheet, this seems like almost like what Tillman would want. Maybe not what the fans want, like 16, 17 goals, but like holding other teams at essentially 1 goal per quarter, averaging out. And that's probably being generous, given they were held scoreless in 2 quarters and they only scored 1 goal in the 4th. But Loyola did. This is defense shaping up. It's a form. Jake, you tweeted out that Craig Mack image from Return to the Mac. It's Big Mac in goal is huge. I mean, I think emotionally, as you noted, this was the game that he went out last year. to come back and to play as strongly as he did, 12 saves, 4 goals allowed. I mean, like I said, if Maryland's going to ride a defense and a good offense, and I don't say that's a pejorative, but not the offense of 2022 and 2021, but like good offense, 12, 13, 14 goals, but like that defense is some kind of like getting the ball like that, then I think someone would take that. So I think if you're a Terp fan, you're going to be really excited for this Syracuse game because Brian, as you noted, yeah, it's definitely a test for Syracuse. I think it's a test for Maryland too. Maryland's top 5 ranking, probably be there by the time they the next round of polls go out. But this is a dangerous Syracuse offense that like is putting up points at a historic pace, like not even hyperbole. Literally, I think they said that's the most goals the Syracuse team scored in 3 games. Spalina tied Powell's record for most points in a game. So
you're thinking the
this is a
whole
high
full breadth of
octane
Syracuse
offense
lacrosse that Spalina did last night.
How many points did he have?
He had, I think, what was it, 11? 10 points, 3 goals, 7 assists.
I don't want to like.
3 goals, 7. Yeah, 10. So yeah, but I think that's like a tied record.
Yeah, he tied it. Yeah, he tied
somebody.
a
I thought it was
single
Ben
game
Ash or
record.
something. Yeah, this is like Spalina, like he's starting to beat the, what we, he's the prince that was Syracuse's promise. Starting at least looking like that. I'm serious, man. Like, and my main point was just like, yeah, like this is gonna be a test for Syracuse when they play Maryland. It's just like a standard there. But like I said, I think it's going to be a test for Maryland in equal voice, at least for the defense, and just probably the kind of game that the Maryland plays. So yeah, it's just going to be a show. Good to see that the Terps, some of their returning starters from last year, are like really coming back into form. So yeah, I think the Terps fan, like yeah, it's not the 2022, 2021 offense, but like 7-goal win coming back to coverage. It's just that's all the man does is cover. So yeah, I think I'll be happy.
Yeah, and just a programming note with that Cuse Maryland game next week, because it is Saturday evening lacrosse. Syracuse actually listened to us. We're going to start a little later next week, probably around 8:30, because 6 o'clock face off in that Maryland.
We'll
Cuse
see.
Game.
Yeah. Might be taped late.
Oh, that's good. I might go to the Rutgers game if we're going to be taping this later. The Rutgers game, Cuse game, and then we can
we might do either later, or we might do the old Johns Hopkins ESPNU trick.
yeah, the pre-recorded and then a YouTube premiere.
Tape delayed for It feels terrible that this bum reaction. I honestly was like shocked that 10 points was the Syracuse points record.
Yeah, you would think, yeah,
like legit, considering all the players they've had, I legit would have thought it'd be like
back in the day when they were beating
like
teams 25-4 in non-conference in on the schedule.
Syracuse had no to be Syracuse had no shame.
Like they poured it on in the 90s.
Like Simmons had no shame.
He poured it on, and nobody scored 10 points. No one scored 11 points.
It's out of
He was close. He was Coach Riley from the Mighty Ducks. Like he was just, it's not worth winning this. They can't win big.
That's what he stressed at the art museums.
You guys are winning by 8, but I want you to turn it up.
Speaking of turning it up, the Virginia Cavaliers.
Well, also, I think
go ahead. Yeah, we got about
keep rolling.
20 minutes or so. 17 minutes. Okay, yeah. So speaking of pouring on, the Virginia Cavaliers against the Michigan Wolverines. A lesson on don't have the Crosse Commission PR department make your chalkboard. Virginia wins 19-11 in our first ACC versus Big Ten game of the year, and boy, I mean, I know Duke and Notre Dame have been getting the offseason headlines, and for good reason. They returned a lot of 2 teams that played in the national title game. But, boy, what an opening statement for Virginia of, hey, don't forget about us in the ACC race, because boy, did they look good in this one today.
All right. I honestly, I can't believe we missed this on the pod because we would have got like 25 minutes out of this. And we would have got like 15 of those would have been like us impersonating like Lars's reaction in the locker room to this. So like this week, so Kevin Connery, I guess in his press conference, press availability, so the Michigan played in the best conference in the country. Which, listen, I mean, that in itself, like, whatever.
Reasonable statement.
Like, yeah, if you're in the ACC, Big
like,
Ten,
okay.
or Ivy League, you're a coach in those. You're gonna pump up your tires of your conference.
Yeah. So
a reasonable person can say that. It's a reasonable statement.
But we continue.
It doesn't stop there. That's where he could have stopped and been fine. And like, okay, what? We'll see how it shakes out at the end of the year, but it's all right. You're in the Big Ten. At the very worst, you're second best conference. Fine.
Yeah, like no one would have, no one would have like had any issue with it. No one would have, if that was it, it would have, I think, a
few Snickers and people were.
Yeah, like, or like, I think some people, like, there would have been like joke made about it, but like on social media, some people like, oh, Big Ten's not the best conference, but people would have been like, oh, it's just a normal thing coach says. Then he says, it's not the pretty boy conference.
Well, I do want to know who he's talking about. Maybe the Patriot League for all we know.
No, he's talking about the ACC.
So, yeah. Well, yes, again, like Michigan is playing Virginia this weekend. Then he says, it's full of, which is a truly incredible quote here, it's full of 6'4" gorillas ready to rip your face off.
So I'm not sure if Conroy watched that Syracuse Colgate game the other night with Syracuse trying to rip heads off by the last.
I can't wait for you guys to see Ferrari because there's a great scene where a driver they lose a race and he's like trying to tell the difference between Maserati's drivers and his drivers, and he's like, Maserati drivers have a cold indifference of like, who gives a shit? We'll both die. I need to get that line. He's like, my racers, they're educated, they're aristocrats. That's what kind of conversation.
So
very nice, very nice
drivers. These comments occur again. I can't believe this is. And then Virginia leads 5-1. They lead like 9-2 at halftime. And this game is never close.
You know what it reminded me? It reminded me of the Georgetown Virginia game. Just the way that it's like Virginia just mauled them. That's like the thing that Virginia does. Because people don't really appreciate unless you see it firsthand. Is they will maul you. They will jump on you and just never give up.
There are levels to this thing. It's the old like boxing phrase. Like there are levels to this game. Like there are good teams. There are great teams even, and then there's the best. And Virginia is in that tier. But no one highlights it the way Virginia does. Like no one will expose your like Maryland will expose like your weaknesses as a like lacrosse team. They might like if you're like not good defense, like defensively, like Maryland, like that, like the Maryland offense, they may really make you look like Virginia exposes like just like it's like the difference between like it's the difference between using it's like the difference between using a scalpel and a sledgehammer. Like we use like a scalpel. It's like, yeah, we'll look at each of them. We're like, no, we're just gonna take this
and you gave Lawrence Tiffany something to make things personal, which the only other way you other mistake would be like
or maybe maybe not. I mean, maybe not. Or like, but at the end of the day, it's like Michigan's a good team. I even think like they're a very good team. Like they were a quarterfinal team last year, and you don't. We talk about this. You don't fluke quarterfinals. You don't. But there's a difference between the quarterfinals and the Final Four, and like there's difference between Final Four and winning championships. It took Notre Dame however many times like before Final Four and winning a championship. There's levels to this, and Michigan kind of to a degree saw that last year when they played Duke. They plainly saw it again today. Like there's just levels with this, and no one. I said, I mean, I really said it on the show, like on Wednesday. It was like, I've gone back. It's like, wow, that's what happened. Like, no one no more plainly distills like the base elements of like the game that Virginia does. We are bigger than you. We're faster than you. We're stronger than you, and that's what this is about. And to make like when we really want to be, we are nastier than you.
They do want to take your soul. That's where that quote actually came from. It did not come from Brian Dawkins. Brian Dawkins has a lot of sympathy about that. He's like, I want to take their soul. That's Virginia's whole thing. Like, especially when you're like something like that first game of the season at home, and then like they see that in the Richmond Times or whatever. Like, I can imagine that they got they didn't even need to say anything because Steve's just like. He's like, do you need to say anything? Lars is like, cut it up and just, little piece of double stick tape and just put it outside of the door of the locker room. That's all he did.
God, man, they look so good. It was legitimately
like
frightening.
Every facet
like,
of the game, it looks like they are not happy with the fact they haven't won a title in 2 years, and they're going to take it out on a lot of teams here.
And look, yeah, it's 1 week. You're like, look, Millen shows up. We talked like, we were saying, I was saying on Wednesday, I'm like, look, like I don't know, Millen, like I don't know, like he could start, or like they have a lot of guys, I don't know. Like was like Lars, like he wasn't afraid to redshirt Schellenberger. I was like, which I still thought was like that was insane. Millen shows up and scores 5 goals. Millen, Cormier, Shelley had like 13 points. We were saying, what was the face-off going to be without PD? I mean, again, 1 week, but we felt a heck of a guy to go up against, and Gabriel won 15 to 23. Matt Nunes made 55%. I mean, it was. You're not going to play better than that. Mm-hmm. Performance, there's no higher, like no team is going to play better than that. So that's the best performance so far in 2 weeks. But again, yeah, it's 1 week, and that's we'll see how it plays out.
But if Virginia plays like that, that's gonna be scary. Now they do have a trap game next week. They're at Richmond. That's always been a tricky one for the Cavs.
They lost the last time they were there. I think Petey got hurt. Moore might have banged up. They lost. Yeah, that's the one Richmond's got. Like they, really. So we'll see. On the bright side for Michigan, the jerseys look great.
They finally got Nike to do something good for them.
No, you bended. You
make the quarterfinals. No more team order.
Listen, everybody who's abandoned sleeves. Everybody who has abandoned sleeves has, come out on the better side, except for Virginia, who is wearing that. But to be fair, I'm not sure I've ever seen a good Virginia lacrosse jersey.
Yeah, their best jerseys had which is not.
I don't know that I've ever. I don't know how this happens. I don't know how you mess up like orange, white, and blue. But somehow, I don't think I've seen a good Virginia jersey. It amazes me.
When
like
your
everyone
your
is
best
like,
jerseys have piping, that's not a good sign.
No, it's speaking
of uniform.
It's like you get rid of this. You add sleeves, and we're like, I don't know.
Still looks like a smock. Yeah, I to be fair, worst uniforms that I've seen so far this year. Last night seeing Manhattan's black alternates. Woof. I mean, at least we're out of the doldrums of what was the peak Warrior era, the early 2010s, when everyone was bad. Nike was pulling out absolute crap. Warrior was complete dredging up. Oh my god, dark days.
I don't know, every
They
Nike
should
team
do,
wearing
they
sleeveless was bad.
should do baggy shorts. They should do baggy Michigan basketball shorts. Just like one day, even if it's just privilege, I would buy it. They did look good, except for just the box score. Michigan looked for beast today.
Look good, feel good, I guess. And then Penn State looks a lot better this week. They beat Villanova 18-10.
Kind of what we were expecting. I think this is similar to what we said about the Hopkins game, Jacob, that pod after. It was like, if you play that Hopkins Denver game 100 times, Hopkins could just, one way or the other, they could out. There's a four-goal victory, or just that last goal doesn't go in. Somewhere with like Penn State, like just 100 times out of 100, 99 out of 100 times they beat Colgate. But hey, I may be doing a little moving, so I may take the camera off because I'm on track. We made it, boys. We made it back to Jersey, back to civilization. New York, New Jersey, we're back.
He made it past Philly, not too bad, so that's good to see. But yeah, speaking of Philly,
Yeah.
everyone's favorite 18th through 30th team, Villanova.
Are they going to be 18th through 30th this year, Ryan?
I don't know. That's where they always end up being.
I feel like I don't know. They're always that way because they have got a lot of talent on that team. We were safety on about like yes, the Connor Kirsten, Khan, and Fricaro, and McNamara. Those guys, like, I'm not sure the talent is there on that team this year. It feels like the bottom might fall out. Penn State still had a lot of turnovers and a lot of failed clears, and this game was never close.
Yeah, so looking better for the Nittany Lions, definitely after last week's shocker, and then you watch Colgate the next night against Syracuse, and it's like, yeah, Colgate hung in there the first half, but then it's like, boy, Penn State couldn't beat them, and we'll see if it's an anomaly or if they got a pretty favorable schedule. They're at Stony Brook next week. We'll get to them in a second, our rest of the league recap. But, always good to get things in the right direction if you're Penn State, though. So good win for them, and good to have one where they're comfortably in control and not having to panic again.
Yeah, like it was done like 40%. I don't think you're over, 40% offense efficiency, low 20s defense. That's strong. They moved Matt Trainer to attack, so TJ Malone, Kyle Lehman, Matt Trainer on attack. I like the look of that. That's that's a good unit. And Matt Trainer struggled last week. He came back with 6 goals. But that's it's a good attack unit. So yeah, it's a good. I think they still haven't played their best game yet. I feel like, and look, that's okay. If you can win without playing, best game. They need. They're looking. Get to their. Hopefully, get someone approaching their best game by those Yale and Cornell games at home. March, early first week.
All right, so we're going to go a little bit past the hour. We got about 2 minutes left, but we'll go a little bit past the hour as we just run down the other scores. Elsewhere, interesting games. Rutgers beat Stony Brook 16-12 on Long Island, so Scarlet Knights also undefeated heading into their matchup with Army next week, which will be in Piscataway. BU wraps up a very impressive week with an 18-8 victory over Vermont. Ohio State, still the vibes look off, but hey, they're 2-0, 13-6 victory over Cleveland State.
Don't say it, Safe. Don't say it.
Elsewhere in Atlanta, UNC looked like crap in the first half against Mercer, but hey, they win 13-5 in the end. So, hey, Dave Petromala's defense is working wonders. They only gave up 5 the whole game. So, UNC victors there. Towson beats Mount St. Mary's 15-5. Holy Cross beat UMass Lowell 16-9. Jacksonville in a thriller against Binghamton 9-8. So don't know what that says about each team, but that is an interesting result.
I have no idea.
Bryant wins the North Rhode Island Derby 15-13 over Providence. Marist beats Bucknell 17-10. Delaware 14-6 victors over Lafayette. Lehigh beats Fairfield 8-7. In the Programs of Bad Vibes Derby, Navy doubles up Hofstra 16-8. So Navy actually,
if Navy does the thing after I like totally sell, and if I'm gonna be so sick.
Sick to your stomach.
that'd be I'm gonna be so mad.
Navy could do the funniest thing ever and win the Patriot League.
Unbelievable.
It finally happened. I'm like, I can't do it this year. I can't do it. And then they're going out. I'm gonna be so sick.
It's like when we finally gave up on Princeton, and then they before COVID hit, they were undefeated.
Exactly.
I think Georgetown's run began the first year Ryan stopped picking them in top 10. You remember? Like for a little while in the early years of the pod, and then Georgetown went you're like 2017. You're like, I'm done with this team. And then it began in 2018. Yeah.
All right, we're into extra time.
Into extra time. Monmouth beats LIU 14-10. Shout out to Merrimack. Merrimack is 2-0 now after an 11-10 victory over Sacred Heart. Remember, Merrimack is now eligible for the NCAA tournament, so keep that in mind come conference play. VMI beats Queens 14-10. Richmond bounces back from that heartbreaker against Maryland. They body Robert Morris 23-7. Quinnipiac beats St. John's 17-11. Denver. Gone through these games. Denver 11-9 victory over Air Force, a hard fought victory for the Pios. So I don't know if it's a little bit of a regression after the high of beating Hopkins last week, but a little bit of a struggle. But Colorado Derby is always a little bit tricky for them, though, so they come away with the victory. Duke has no problem in a North Carolina Derby with High Point 21-9, and America's team NJIT in overtime beat Siena 16-15. So your NJIT, New Jersey Institute of Technology Highlanders 2-0.
The New Jersey Institute of Technology.
Your Highlanders. Let's go.
For the first time in program history, are 2-0.
They need to play up that Highlanders theme and be like Notre Dame and have a bagpipe player before every game.
Oh, that
just
would be
like imagine this scene if a first round NCAA tournament game of NJIT in South and Arlada with dueling bagpipes. The Irish bagpipes versus the Scottish bagpipes.
Some sophomore in a red and black kilt. Oh yeah, this is lacrosse heritage.
Listen, they got their next week, who's been blown out in both games. That's possible. They're home to Monmouth in a in-state rivalry game. That's gonna be tough.
Yeah, that's
Monmouth,
a tough one.
That got tough. Then they're home to Manhattan, coming off on a short rest. I don't really know what to make of Manhattan
yet.
Yeah,
not counting the Syracuse game of really judging anything.
I'm not really sure we'll have somewhat, because Vermont looks not. I don't feel great about Vermont this year. I'm just saying it's not out of the question that NJIT could start 5-0.
Heading into the Wagner game in the Bayonne Bridge Derby.
And then they play Lindenwood.
Lindenwood, which is a zombie program.
So I'm saying
Marquette beat Lindenwood 16-5.
There's a universe where you could talk to your kids about 7-0 NJIT. Just saying. I'm not going to put it out there yet. I'm not putting it out there. I'm just saying there's a universe.
The off-season content is some of our best stuff, because look at the vibe check for NJIT. It's immaculate.
So, yeah.
This may be bigger than the Hopkins prediction last year. This is just for New Jersey. This. And me personally is right up there. It's right up there.
NJIT, man, it could win 6. Listen, man. So yeah. No, I do think, will they get to 5-0. I don't know, but I'm just saying. Listen, no, 2-0. They've never won 3 games in a row as a program, so let's start there. Next week, now on the road, going for 3 in a row. I don't believe they've ever won 3 in a row. Now, if they have, and someone fact checks me, I apologize.
I just want to. Yeah, let's just read off to wrap up the show. Safe's vibe check is a little bit of a sampling of what you could get for just $6 a month on our Patreon.
Absolutely.
And I read, Safe says, "Look, some may say I am off my rocker here, but I stand by choosing great for the Highlanders. Sure, NJIT finished 3-10 overall and 1-6 in the America East last season, but those 3 wins were one more than the program had from 2010 to 2022 combined. Last season was a program record for wins in the season, and I think one has to give a significant credit to head coach Eric Wolf, who took over the program after the 2022 season, replacing former head coach Travis Johnson. Johnson was the program's only head coach since the NJIT's inaugural season in 2015. I think having a new leader was the right decision for the program, and it is encouraging to see positive results in the field in Wolf's first season. I hope they can continue this success into 2024. So again, we used to call that.
We were talking about God. We were saying six wins. 6 wins was possible.
Not just a pretty face, boys. Not just we got substance.
Yeah, we used to call that the Crosscast bump. Now we call it the Cross Commission bump. And you too can subscribe to the Cross Commission on Patreon. $6 a month gets you immaculate takes like that, as well as other great content. And as always, subscribe on YouTube if you haven't already to our page here, because we are cranking out some live streams every Saturday. Thank you for everyone who joined us tonight to check us out. If you're one of those that listen after the fact, thank you for subscribing as well on your favorite audio streaming service, including Patreon, Spotify. We have connectivity on Spotify as well. And you can follow us on Twitter at college_cross. You can also follow me at RyanMcD29.
At Jake_Zon.
Erie_barrister.
And we'll have Jake and Safe get you set for what's going to be a very fun week 2 next week. The Ivy League starts playing. Maryland, Syracuse in the Dome, really bringing back the vibes of big-time February lacrosse in Central New York, like the good old days. So lots to look forward to next week. And as we said, we'll be back at it probably a little bit later next week due to that Saturday evening lacrosse. But from all of us from the Cross Commission,
we're so back.
Thanks so much for watching, and we will catch you next week with plenty of content. In the meantime, by the way, before we go, Super Bowl picks, I'm going Chiefs.
Chiefs.
Yes. Oof. That just set us up.
Yeah. Taylor Swift can't go wrong. We got it. She's got us. She's got us. She's going to carry us.
So it is Super Bowl Sunday. Just remember, stay hydrated. You got work the next day. And stay hydrated at the water cooler, because that's why we stay having Super Bowl Sunday instead of having it on Saturday night, because Roger Goodell wants you to have those water cooler conversations. So stay hydrated.